Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and joining me is LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are your hosts. We're broadcasting live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the blogtalkradio.com network, bringing you some of the best golfers, teacher professionals, and entrepreneurs helping to elevate women's golf. We're so glad you decided to join us this morning, so grab your coffee and let's get started. All right, good morning once again. Welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside each and every week is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are your hosts here on the Women of Golf. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted. How are we?
I am doing fantastic. We've got a great show to start things off. We're going to be joined by the winner of the Symetra Tour's IOA Championship, Fatima Fernandez Cano. She's going to be joining us here in just a second. And then a little bit later on in the show, hopefully if everything goes well, we'll be joined by LPGA touring professional Legends Tour player Danielle Ammaccapane. Is going to be joining us on the second half of the show. So we're really excited to have these two great ladies joining us on the program. But a quick reminder, the Women of Golf is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing top quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, offering insightful reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top PGA and LPGA teach professionals, all designed to help improve your game from tee to green. So subscribe today at golftipsmag.com. All right, as I mentioned, Cindy, we've got a great show, and the winner from the IOA Championship is joining us, Fatima Fernandez Cano. And let me just tell everybody just a little bit about her. She was born October 23rd, 1995, and is a native of Spain. And she is a four-time All-Sun Belt first-team selection for Troy University. She's also an eight-time medalist, including the 2014 Sun Belt Conference Championship, named the 2014 Sun Belt Conference Freshman of the Year for the Trojans, and Sun Belt Women's Conference Golfer of the Year, and set the Troy single-season scoring average of 72.79 back in 2016. And up until just a couple of weeks ago, her best finish on the Symetra Tour was a third at the 2018 Prasco Charity Championship. So, Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest to start things off, the winner of the IOA Championship, Fatima Fernandez Cano.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow.
Congratulations, Fatima, and welcome to the show. And we're glad that you were able to make it this week. So congratulations on your win first and foremost. And tell us a little bit about how you were feeling when you walked off the 18th green.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for having me, guys. Well, like I was telling you before, I've been very close a few times. So when I actually walked on the green, I think I had like a 30-footer for birdie. I looked at the leaderboard, and I knew I had a couple shots cushion there, and I kind of looked at it, and I took a minute. I just took it all in, and I realized that it was very much close to getting it done, and I smiled, and I realized that all the hard work over the years, and especially this last break during COVID and everything, I just took it all in and realized that all the work was paying off, and could not be any happier for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine it was pretty exciting. And let me just ask another question, and I'm going to throw it over to Cindy. Given that we've been in this sort of shutdown for several months and obviously the tour was closed down pretty much since March and just has sort of resurfaced here in the last several weeks. What did you do during the shutdown? Were you able to work on your game a little bit? And was it difficult getting back out and playing with such a long shutdown?
Yeah, I was very, very lucky. So at the beginning, I thought about going back to Spain, actually. And when I was kind of making my decision about going, the borders closed, so I actually stayed. And like I said, I live in Birmingham, in Alabama, and our golf course never quite shut down completely. So I was able to go out there and still practice, or still do my thing and still play. And I was very thankful for that. It was just very hard to get motivated, for sure, just because we didn't know when everything was gonna come back and all that stuff. So I mean, in a way, it was very hard to get motivated, but I was able to continue to practice, to continue to work out and all that stuff and work on my game. And I was actually very excited to come back for the first event of the season after COVID, and it was over in Michigan. And right when I'm getting ready to pack and everything, I actually tested positive for COVID, so I couldn't go. So all my excitement was killed a little bit, and I was actually scared because I had to quarantine for 10 days after that, and I wasn't sure whether my game was going to be in shape or not for the next couple of weeks, I guess. But I was able to, again, practice, work hard, and play some golf and compete some over at my home course, and that helped me a bunch, of course.
Yeah, it's difficult. Well, we're glad you pulled through COVID, and obviously youth has its advantages when it comes to that. So, and we're glad that you went on to win a couple of weeks ago. Cindy, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. What do you do and how do you keep your sanity when you're not sure what's going to happen? You can hit one shot good and the next hole hit a terrible shot, and you don't know what's going to happen, and if are you going to be exempt. And like you said, I tested positive. And so how do you keep your sanity?
Well, I feel like, honestly, in this, especially this year, I've always been kind of like a happy, optimistic person, but especially during this year, it kind of made me realize how much I love golf, how much I love being out here. And in a way, every time I don't know what's going to happen and there's so much uncertainty out there, I just kind of look back, take a bigger perspective, kind of like take a bigger mind into things, and I think about the whole perspective, put things in perspective, basically. And I'm thinking, well, maybe, 10 years from now, what am I going to care about this shot? What am I going to care about one COVID positive test? I'm healthy. That's all that matters. So in a way, I put things in perspective, and I'm just grateful for what I have, for what I do. In this case was when I tested positive, I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't struggle with it, so that was the positive from it. I couldn't play. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. When we had some tournament cancel on us, and we didn't quite get to compete for the LPGA course this year, I just put in perspective, and I'm like, it's just 1 year. Even though it feels in a way like a wasted year, it's just 1 year of my life. Just kind of enjoy it, take it in, and make sure you get better. And that's what I did.
That's awesome, because that's the only thing you can do. So good job. What's the best part of your game?
The best part of my game is my iron game. Well, I'd say off the tee I hit it pretty far, so that's an advantage that I have. And then also my iron game is good. I hit a lot of greens in regulation. So I set myself up a lot of times for birdie opportunities. Unfortunately, my putting is not the best, but I've been working on it. So thankfully, I've been able to work on that and make some more birdies. But I'd say my iron game, I just hit a lot of greens in regulation.
Awesome. Ted?
Yeah, and that's important. You got to at least give yourself a chance, and obviously you want to tighten up your putting a little bit to take advantage of some of those opportunities. But yeah, it's nice to have the distance and have the accuracy with your irons, and again be able to put yourself in position. So let me ask you, a question that we ask a lot of first-time winners, and that when you're playing throughout the season, and let's forget this season for a moment, let's go back to the last couple of seasons, and things are just not coming together, how do you keep yourself motivated throughout the season? It can be very, very difficult. You're out there challenging against some of the best young players coming up through the ranks, and you said you got close quite a few times, but it just didn't seem to happen. Was there a moment when you kind of just, I don't know if I can keep doing this?
Yeah, so that is a really good question, because I actually had that kind of thing happen to me last year. I started the year feeling really good about my game, but I think I missed like 5 cuts in a row or something like that. And even though my game was feeling good in practice rounds and like I felt like I was getting there, I was just missing cuts. I was not scoring very well. And at one point I kind of told myself, don't feel sorry for yourself. Keep working hard. You're doing the right things. Your game is moving in the right direction. Just make sure you have the right mentality for it. Basically, to me, was just believing myself, believe that I could do it. And that's when I started playing a little better, shooting some better rounds, making a bunch of cuts in a row. And then I actually got into the last group on Sunday a couple times, and I was very close a couple times. And I couldn't quite get it done. But I also think that experience really helped me a couple weeks ago to get my first win, just because I knew how it felt. I knew that for me, when I feel the pressure, when I get nervous, what I do is I get a little accelerated, and I think that happens to everybody. So I knew what to do. I knew to make sure to breathe, to do my breathing exercises, to make sure to calm myself and to get myself in the right mind, and in a way make sure that I play. I give you my all, and nobody's gonna take away from me the fact that I shot 7 under in the second round. I was in the last group, and I'm just enjoy the moment, make sure I do that, and I believe in myself. I had the game, and just go for it. But yes, I just to keep motivated, I guess, is just believing in myself. And I'm very lucky. I have a lot of people around me that kind of push me, continue to believe in myself, and continue to tell me that, I have it, just be patient type of thing. And that helped me last year to get through a bad time. And then this year, when I was in position to really get it done, I was able to do so from previous experiences.
Very good. So let me ask you another question about golf in general. What was it about golf that attracted you to the game? I mean, there's so many other sports out there that you could be involved in, and maybe you are involved in some ways especially growing up through college and so forth. But what was it about golf that appealed to you that you said, this is something I want to pursue?
Yeah, I love sports in general. I love being, playing any sports, competing. That's something that I've always loved growing up. But I feel like golf is something that I could do even by myself. I didn't depend on anybody else to play it, and that I could always get better. It doesn't matter how well you play one day. You can always be better. And I feel like the challenge is what always gets me going. So that's part of it, and also the fact that to me the golf course is it's my place where I go. And if I have any kind of problem somewhere away from golf, I used to just go to the golf course, and that was me, myself, and I on my golf course and my golf clubs, and it just felt so peaceful at times that I think that's what kept me involved in it. And then when I went to college, I had a lot of time to practice, to compete, and I realized how much I love the competition, how much I love being out here, how much I love just being out on the golf course. That I told myself, I said, I don't think I can be away from this sport ever, whether it is playing it, coaching it, or whatever it is. I just fell in love with it in a way, and I'm just consider myself very lucky that I get to play it, of course. But I think it's just that peacefulness in a way that it brings me, even though it can be so frustrating at times. It just brings me a little bit of, it's just peaceful to me to be out here on the golf course, and it's just very competitive, and it can always get better, so you can always improve.
That's a great answer. Yeah, it is. I think a lot of people, some people enjoy a more of a team sport, which can be fun in its own right. But some people like the sort of the solitude, if you will, like you said, the peacefulness out in the golf course that golf brings you. So I really like that answer. If you weren't playing golf, if golf was not in your future, what would be your next option? And I hate to say that because I don't want to jinx you or anything, but if golf was not something that you got in, exactly. If golf wasn't something that you were pursuing, is there something else that you would like to be doing?
I always say if I weren't to be playing it, I think I would still be in the sport somehow. Whether I love the golf swing and all that stuff, so I would love coaching it and all that stuff. I think I would still be involved in it until I get tired of it. But if golf was not a sport at all and I never got into it, I'm not sure. I just love sports, so I feel like in some way I would still be involved in the sports, and if not, I would probably use my degree. I went to school and I got my degree in business and marketing, and at some point in my life I would love to do a master's degree in marketing research. So I guess that would be kind of like my career if golf was not a sport, or if sports were not an option, for sure.
Very interesting. Cindy, go ahead. Cindy, I think your mic's muted.
I'm sorry. How did you choose Troy University?
In a way, it chose me. So, a little bit of a backstory. When I was about 14, 15 years old, my home course back home, it closed down. And so all I had to practice was just driving range. So I couldn't really play many events. So I was never like a top player back home in Spain growing up. And so I kind of I knew about scholarships here in the States to play sports, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to live a different experience kind of thing. And I needed a scholarship to be able to come out and afford it, basically. So I went through an agency that what they do is get people in touch from a different country that wants to come into the States and play college sports and stuff like that. And somehow they found Troy, super random. They just saw my video and my very poor resume, and they said, sure, come on over. We have a scholarship for you. And didn't even go on a visit or anything like that. And I said, sure, let's do it. Why not? And I showed up August 2013, not knowing that that experience will totally change my life.
Wow. So can you tell me, I've got a couple of kids that I teach right now that are kind of in the same boat. What did your resume look like? What were you shooting before you came to Troy?
I honestly think my first round under par in a tournament was when I was 16, 17. I was not a bad player. I just did not have the opportunity to play many tournaments just because, I did not have a golf course and it's just a little expensive to travel and play certain tournaments. So all I played was my regional tournament sometimes, which was maybe, I guess, 6 a year or something like that, and maybe nationals once a year. And that was about it. So, I mean, it was not bad. I mean, I had a few, good rounds, good results, but it was not great by any means. So that's why I went in a way to a smaller school, but to me that was a great opportunity because coming from a different country was a little hard to adapt, of course. And going into a smaller school, it was really, really good for me because I had a very, very good education. My professors knew me by name, which is something that I loved about Troy, that everybody was very caring and all that stuff. And then I was able to come here and work hard and improve my game and get to the level that I'm at right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell someone who's a sophomore, junior, senior in high school? Because your story's kind of like mine. I was a walk-on at Miami, and I never visited the school, and I just sat on my bed and cried, and then I got up and hit balls, and then I graduated the number one player on the team. And then I played on the LPGA tour. So, again, so many kids think that they need to be superstars. What would you tell that underdog that might be a diamond in the rough if they were having trouble believing in themselves?
Just work hard. Your time will come. You don't have to peak when you're 16, 15 years old. That's not at all. I mean, I enjoyed my time in high school. I worked hard, but even though I didn't have a lot of opportunities, just enjoy your time. And once I got to college, I just worked very hard. And if you work hard, if you have a dream, just go after it because it will come true. And it doesn't matter how little you have, how maybe you have not peaked yet, and that is okay. Just give it your best, and if you have a dream, again, believe in it and get after it.
Awesome. Thank you. Ted?
Fatima, let me ask you, one of the things I think that a lot of amateurs struggle with, and you kind of hinted to this a little bit, earlier on in our discussion, and earlier on in your professional career, you were playing really good in the practice rounds, but then things weren't quite as good once you got out on the golf course during the tournament. So you didn't quite get it done. So it kind of tells me something similar that amateurs have when they're out on the practice tee and they're working and they're hitting some great shots. And then all of a sudden they get to the first tee, and it's like, where did that person go? They're all over the place. The ball's going left, it's going right, it's going short, that sort of thing. What would you say to help somebody that's really struggling, that can hit a pretty decent ball but can't seem to bring it to the golf course? In other words, they can't take their range game out on the golf course. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, that happens so often. I'd say two things. One of them is focused practice. It doesn't do you any good to go over to the practice range, not aim anywhere and just hit 300 balls. That's not gonna do you any good unless you're working on a certain move on your swing and you really wanna, work hard or whatever. But if you're working towards a tournament, that's not going to help you. You need to make sure that when you're practicing, you're doing focused practice, and you're doing practice under pressure a little bit. So that's what I do, certain drills when I am on the driving range. And yes, if I'm working on my swing, I will do a lot of reps. But if not, I'll try and imagine certain shots in the driving range and pick a target and see the ball fly to the target and see how I want to get it there, basically. Or when I'm putting, I make sure that I do some pressure drills. Like I have to make a certain amount of putts in a row, and when I get to the last few, I feel the pressure. And that's kind of similar to the pressure you will feel on the golf course. So that's one thing. And then another thing is, for me, I was getting very, very fast on the golf course. So like my swing in the driving range had nothing to do with my swing on the golf course. So to me, what I think when I'm on the golf course and I feel the pressure and I feel the nerves a little bit is just be patient. I even sometimes just take an extra breath or two, just take a little bit more time at times if I'm really, really feeling the pressure. But it's just basically take your time. Be patient. Be patient in your golf swing, not in your routine, but yet when you get to the golf swing and kind of, to me, it's like let the backswing finish before you start to follow through. That's my thought, just because it helps me calm down a little bit.
That's some great advice, Fatima, because you're exactly right. A lot of our amateur players that we work with as teaching professionals have those same issues. And it's amazing. You're right. They get out there in the driving range and they're just sort of pulling ball after ball and hitting balls without really any thought or any focus, as you suggest. And they don't do anything to put pressure on themselves, like, as some of the examples you gave. And then also the other thing is getting out in the golf course is being able to sort of quiet your mind a little bit. Sometimes they get in there and they've got so many swing thoughts and so many things going on in their head that by the time they stand over the ball, they don't really know what to do anymore because they've got 20 different ideas popping in their head. And again, that's where you need to be focused and pay attention. I think obviously that's one of the reasons somebody like yourself is able to play out on tours. You've learned to manage that. So let me talk just a little bit about off of the golf course. What do you like to do for fun besides golf?
I love being outside. So everything that I do, every activity, I feel like it's outside. I love hiking. Just if I have a day off, I'll do like a few miles hiking and just kind of usually by myself, just do my own thing, hike, feel like that peace that I was talking about before. That's what I love to do. And I actually recently, during COVID, I felt like I needed a new hobby, of course, just because I had so much time in my hands that I got into paddleboarding, and I absolutely love that now. So I guess my hobbies would be any sport really that I can get into, I can get my hands into. I'll do it, but specifically, I'd say hiking.
And I know there's some good trails in Birmingham because I've been to a few of them around there. So there's lots of opportunities to do that. It's very safe, of course, in Birmingham, Alabama. So you get a good workout at the same time. What's one of the hardest parts, obviously besides the play, out on tour? What's hard about on tour, or what's some of the challenges besides playing? Is it the travel? Is it having? I mean, obviously this year is a little bit different, but based on previous years, use those as examples if you need be. But is it the back-to-back-to-back events? Sometimes, I think last year you had 7 or 8 events in a row, and is that difficult to maintain focus and to keep your energy levels up?
It is, for sure. I think the traveling is a very one, just because we're in the semester tour, we're trying to make it to the LPGA. We're not making that much money. So most of the times, me personally, I'm driving to most of the events, and that's about usually, more often than not, it's about a 10-hour drive from one place to the next. And that takes a toll on your body. So I feel like for me, it was being able to manage that. And like you said, we had I think it was 7 in a row last year, and basically talk myself into missing one of them, like basically skipping a week because I need to rest. And I didn't do that my first year, and then my second year I realized that was huge for me, that I can't go 7 in a row. Personally, I can't because mentally I get exhausted. So I need a week off. I need to go home, do my thing, practice a little bit, and get my mind off of the tournament type of thing. Especially if I guess you're having a few rough weeks, it can get very, very tough to continue to play, 6, 7 in a row. So to me, the most I play in a row, I think, is 4 now, just because 4 is the tops that I think my mind can be 100% into what I'm doing. But I would say yes, traveling is the toughest part because you can get a little hard on your body, and I mean, most of the times we travel by ourselves, no caddy or anything like that. So that could get very hard. But I'm also very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet wonderful people out here on tour, and we all try and help each other when it comes to that. And I think that's something that we all do out here in the Symetra, that we have some very close friends, and that really helps when it comes to that, for sure.
Yeah, and what do you do to do you have a sort of a workout routine that you squeeze in while you're out on tour, and do you find that you're able to keep a pretty good diet as well? Because I'm sure it's probably difficult sometimes to always eat healthy. Are you pretty good that way, that you keep yourself physically fit and active with some sort of a workout? And then what about your eating habits? Do you find yourself eating a lot of fast food, or what do you do?
Yes, when it comes to working out, I actually got into it a little more this year, and I think that's helped me, of course. And I do have a routine. Usually when I'm home, I'm working out about 4 times a week. When I'm on the road, I try to do at least 3 days a week. Of course, it's very hard this year because it depends on the state we're going. The gyms are open, the gyms are closed.
Right.
So it really depends on the week. So this year is a little different. But, yes, usually if I'm on the road, I'm going to try and do at least 3 days of working out, a little bit of lifting, a little bit of mobility and stuff like that. And that's really helped me stay in shape this year. And when it comes to eating, I love eating healthy, and it's very easy to do that back home. But when I start getting on the road, and that gets a little tougher, of course. But I try my best. But of course, with us traveling, being in hotels and all that stuff, sometimes it's not the easiest. But I think it's extremely important to just feel your body the way you want to perform in a way. And I'm getting into it this year, and I think it's helped me so far.
Very good. Cindy, any final thoughts or questions that you have for Fatima?
No, I just wish you the best of luck. You've got a very strong mind, and I love your attitude, and I just wish the best for you. So good luck the rest of this year and onward. Hopefully we speak to you again soon after your next win.
Thank you very much. I hope I get to speak with you guys again very soon.
That sounds good. Good luck in the next tournament, and thank you very much for stopping by the Women of Golf. All right, that was our very special guest this morning, Fatima Fernandez Cano. She was the winner of the Symetra Tours IOA Championship just a couple of weeks ago, and I think they actually had a week off last week, and then they're back at it this week. I'm not sure 100% the name of the tournament this week, but so we'll have another winner following on next Tuesday's show. Very interesting, very focused young lady. Don't you agree, Cindy?
Absolutely. Very level-headed.
Yeah,
yes,
and gave some great gave some great advice for some of those young girls that have maybe aspirations of one day making it out there on tour, and it's. The thing that really stuck out to me, and I'm sure you probably picked up on it as well, is she talked about something that you don't hear a lot about anymore, unfortunately, and that is hard work. She was very emphatic. She mentioned it a number of times throughout her conversation, that you've just got to work hard and you've got to, be focused in what you're doing. And, if you want something bad enough, you've got to be willing to put in the time. And I think that's really where a lot of amateurs fall short. Even if you don't, ever play it on a tour or play, competitive golf, if you want to improve, then you've got to focus your practice, get out there on the practice tee and not just rake and hit balls, but, focus your efforts on the practice tee, and then also get out there and work hard. If you want to improve and drop some strokes, then you've got to get out there and work hard. And if you don't, then you're never going to improve. And then you're just going to, you're just going to, become disgruntled and not enjoy the game. Agree with that?
Absolutely. And again, I think the other point is the patience that she had, not knowing, you have all this time off, then you're ready to go play, then you test positive, then you have to go quarantine. So it's like delay, 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 and delay does not mean denial. So
No.
don't give up is the other
and
lesson.
Yeah, and something else that jumped out at me too is just towards the end where she mentioned about not being able to string together 7 tournaments in a row, that she knows her limitations, and that's important as well, knowing what you can handle comfortably without overdoing it, because that's something as well, because especially as she mentioned, a lot of these young ladies coming out, they're not making a lot of money on the Symetra Tour, so they're traveling a lot. So there's an incentive for them to want to play as many events as possible, which in some ways is a good thing. But in her case, she said, you know what, I can't do those 7 tournaments in a row like that anymore. And yet she's, very young. It's not, that she's older or anything like that. It's just mentally and physically, she just cannot do it without experiencing some issues. So she recognized that and said, okay, you know what, I'm going to adjust my schedule. And I think that's very smart. What do you think of that?
Well, you have to have boundaries and personal boundaries, and you have to figure out that, if you're running on fumes, you're not going to play your best. So you're better off taking a week off. And here's the other thing that I noticed that she said was that you don't need to peak when you're 16. So many of these young women that have been on this show realize that this is for the long haul. And you're going to be playing this game for a really long time. And what a great mindset to understand that it doesn't have to be perfect right this minute, that you're doing something for the long term to get better and stay better for a really long time. So I just think that that's very, very important. The perspective of, I don't have to do this. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, take a chill pill.
Right.
The other thing is that I was on a call yesterday. I was on a call, executive committee call yesterday, and Mike Wan joined us. And he spoke about, all the decisions that they've made and how they've handled COVID and all these other things. And listening to his perspective on why they allowed everyone to keep their status, because if you're living in Switzerland and you're afraid to come to the United States to play for fear that you might, get COVID, and you don't want to play, you don't need to play, and you're going to keep your status for next year no matter what you do this year. And that's a big deal.
Sure.
That's a huge big deal.
Yeah.
Right? So
it takes away exactly. It takes away a lot of the anxiety for it. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, it just takes away the worry. Right? You don't have to go, oh my God, what am I doing? Blah, 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 blah. So, again, that perspective of this is long-term. I don't need to panic. I need to keep working on what I'm doing, which I admire these young people for this, because it's hard.
Well, and as we've alluded to before, this is a long stretch. I mean, they started the tour up in, about the middle of February, if I remember correctly, was I think their first, or late February was their first event, and then all of a sudden, everything sort of shut down. So there's a long stretch, and as we've mentioned here lately, golf has been very fortunate because we haven't really been as hard impacted as many other businesses and many other even sports as we've seen lately. So a lot of the folks that play on tour have been able to get out there in some fashion and continue to work on their game. They're not maybe playing as competitive, obviously not playing in tour events, but they're still able to get out there and do their somewhat daily routine for the most part. So they're able to keep their game relatively sharp. Where the test really comes in mentally is the fact that they aren't playing competitive, that they're not out there grinding it against their fellow competitors. So they've got to kind of invent sort of their own internal competition. Say, okay, I'm not playing against so and so and so and so, but what can I do in my practice sessions again, as Fatima talked about, keeping, focused. What can I do when I get out there on the golf course? What can I do to make it seem more competitive? Put some pressure. Imagine this is the putt that I'm, that's going to keep me in the tournament, or this is the putt that's going to put me into a playoff, or what have you. So there's a lot of things that they can do to help keep themselves sharp, and that's not easy. And that's, she talked about how she really enjoyed being out there in the elements and enjoy that. So golf is a sport. You don't rely on anybody else. You have to have your own discipline. And you know that yourself, Cindy, playing out on tour, both on the LPGA and on the Legends Tour, that you have to be very self-disciplined or you don't survive, right?
That's for sure. Again, guess who's holding the club, right?
Right.
Again, it's all about you, and you have to be willing to look in the mirror and work on what you need to work on. And you also have to sit back and evaluate. It's funny, we've got a bunch of our students, the kids, playing in the LPGA qualifier at Turning Stone yesterday and today. And that only 2 people make it. And some of these kids have not really played in a bigger junior event. They've played locally and regionally. And there's kids that are coming in from all over to try to qualify for this national event. And it's kind of like, oh, we're at the next level. Oh, well, holy cow, this kid just shot 2 under par, and I shot 83. So, you might be a big fish in a small pond in Western New York, but, you're a minnow in the ocean. So, again, it's the awareness of, do I want to get to the next level, and what do I need to do that? And it's all about, let your clubs do the talking. What are you shooting? And then if you're shooting too terribly, one of them I texted, I said, all right, how many fairways and greens did you hit? Well, they didn't really know exactly how many greens they hit, so they weren't paying attention, right? And it's like, right. Well, it's all about numbers. I mean, I understand you're scared to death because the father texted me and said, oh, my God, he was scared to death. And I go, I get that. I would be scared to death, too. But, again, it's good experience to go out there and say, okay, I think I want to do this. And then how can you get better? But you always have to look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And you're dealing with a lot of, as you mentioned to Fatima earlier, you've got a lot of young girls that you're working with that are in a similar boat to her. They're maybe in high school, or they're entering high school, or getting ready to go to college, and they're unsure really what to do. And so to hear from somebody like her, hey, this is what I've done. It's helped me. It's been successful. It's helped me to be successful out here on tour. Gives them some hope and gives them some sense of direction. Say, okay, now that doesn't mean they're going to do exactly the same as her, but it gives them an idea of, okay, that's something I didn't think of, or maybe I need to do that as well, and helps them sharpen a little bit. All right, I see that Danielle is ready, so let me just very quickly let everybody know a little bit about our very special guest coming up the second half. Danielle is an LPGA touring professional and Legends Tour player. At just 5'5", she started very early playing this game. Credits her mother, father, and Bill Cornelius as the individuals who most influenced her career. She married her husband, Rod Kessling, back in January of 1996, and subsequently gave birth to her daughter, Laura Ann Kessling, in 2000, and son, Denver Christian Kessling, in 2004. And she was inducted into the Arizona State Hall of Fame back in 1997. Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest, Danielle Ammaccapane.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Well, I'm doing all right. I'm glad you kind of reminded me about this call. I was back east with my daughter, and I'm on a different time zone, and I was like, I knew there's something I got to be doing, and I was like, yep, I need to be calling into the show.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Well, thanks. How have you been?
Good. I miss seeing you.
I know. I miss seeing everybody. It's just a shame that we were not able to get together this year at all. I really thought maybe there was going to be one event that we could pull off this year, but it just didn't work out.
No, it didn't. So what's going on? Is your daughter still acting?
No, actually, she's living back east. I'm actually in Maryland, and she's getting married, and so we're doing a little bit of that, but pretty much everything's set to go for next year. And she and her fiance are moving into a new place, so I came out here to help them because it was quite a lot. So I really didn't have much going on, so I thought, well, I'll help them out for a little bit. So yeah,
well,
that's what I'm
good.
doing. Yeah.
Good for you. Ted, go ahead.
So Danielle, welcome to the show first off. And Danielle actually joined me past Thursday on Golf Talk Live. We talked for a little while, and we'll touch on a few things that we talked about there just because it's a different audience. So tell us a little bit about your playing career as a player on the LPGA Tour. What were some of the highlights and some of the fondest memories you had when you were out on tour?
Well, got highlights and memory. I mean, I have a lot of great memories about being out there. I was out there for 20 years, and I just I enjoyed the travel, all the different places I got to visit, the people I met. I have friends that I met. Geez, one of my first couple of years on tour, I'm still friends with them now. Several people like that. Winning my first golf tournament at my home course where I grew up playing high school golf at Moon Valley, and then I came back the next year and I defended and won there again. So probably the highlight of my career.
Very good. Now, one of the things we were talking about, our earlier guest, she's just won her first event on the Symetra Tour just a couple of weeks ago. And she's a young girl from Spain, and she's over here, lives part-time over here in the United States, of course, while she travels around on tour. And you mentioned about traveling. Some obviously find it very difficult because, you're playing tournaments all over the place, and you're hopping here and there. Was there times where you felt kind of fatigued? And if so, what did you do to kind of pick yourself up and say, okay, I got to get out there and, this is the fourth tournament in a row, and I've just got to, get my energy back up. What did you do? Was there anything you said yourself, or was anything you did that helped you manage some of those stretches where you had a lot of events going on?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think everybody had to try and figure out what was their limit of the amount of tournaments that they could play in a row before things started to kind of go south. I think more mentally than physically it was for me. So it was that 4 in a row. Like after that, It was time for me to either take a break. I remember my first year on tour as a rookie, and you just don't know anything. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anybody. I think I ended up playing like 9 straight in a row or something like that, and I just was like beside myself. And I actually had my mother come out and travel a little bit with me because I just felt like I was just out there by myself, and I wasn't having any fun. And then I tried to figure out, hey, I got to get a better schedule. This is not working out. I can't just stay out here the whole entire time. So I started to get into a little bit of a rhythm after that. And you just start to figure out, well, what's my limit? What's my threshold? I can only pick. Depends on how you're playing, too. I guess if you're playing really good and you're up on the leaderboard all the time, mentally it kind of wears on you. So you may not be able to go as many tournaments. And for me, it was that 4 or 5 in a row. And then after that, I had to take a week off, and then I could go again. And then I like to take 2 weeks off. So I kind of had a nice little cycle of rhythm there. And I tried to get the schedule around the majors where I was rested and ready to go for those.
What did you do in the downtimes, whether it be a week or 2 weeks in between tournaments when you got to that 4 or 5 tournament limit, said, okay, I've got to take some downtime? Did you just sweep the clubs aside to, the garage or what have you? Or did you maybe just practice a little bit but not really spend a lot of time on the golf course? Did you literally take time off?
I did actually. The week that I would, the time that I would take 1 week off, it was put the clubs away. I don't even think I ever unpacked them. They would just stay packed, and that week would go by so fast that I'd be, back out on tour before you knew it. The time where I took 2 weeks off, that first week I would not touch any clubs, and then the second week I would start getting a little practice in, and then take off again.
Yeah, I think that was smart. Cindy, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. When you took the first week off, what did you do? Did you go do things that had nothing to do with golf just to get away from it and be kind of normal?
Oh yeah. I was nowhere near golf clubs. I never even thought about it. I don't even think I'd watch it on TV. It was just the total removal. Come home. We had a restaurant back then. I used to hang out at the restaurant a lot with my dad, help him if he needed help, take my mom. We'd go shopping, hang out with my friends, just whatever. It was not, there was no golf. I mean, that's the whole point of getting home and taking off. It's to take off. It's to not do anything. I mean, I had plenty of time to practice and play out on tour, and that's where I did most of my practicing. I really didn't practice much at home, and the only time I did that was in the wintertime before I had to kind of get ready to get going again. But you have so much time out on tour to practice and play, there was no reason to do it at home.
Got it. Let me ask you something. What was the hardest part of being on tour? I mean, because everybody thinks, oh, this is so great. And it's really pretty lonely. And when you're new and you don't know where to go and, it's your first year and you don't know the golf course and you have to play a practice round or two. And, again, I don't want to paint a dismal picture, but I just don't want – people think it's just, oh, this is so nice. What was the hardest part for you?
Well, in the beginning, it was certainly the travel and not knowing where I was going, and certainly not having any friends or anybody to stay with and hang out with and, have dinner with and stuff. I didn't know any of the girls, and making friends was tough. And like I said, I did that one stretch there when I was a rookie and just really was not having a good time. It wasn't until probably a couple years later that I kind of, started to feel a little more comfortable about being out there and stuff. I mean, everything about the tour is hard. It's the travel. It's not knowing where to eat. It's staying in different hotel rooms and then having to do laundry at laundromats has got to be the worst thing. And then, and then finishing a roundup on Sunday and having to travel either that night without getting a shower or anything and taken off to the airport or whatever. And then there's, it's just the grind of it, every day, you've got to take some time off. I literally, I know the girls are not doing it now, but I literally would take Monday and half of Tuesday, sometimes all of Tuesday off. But I would take pretty much all day Monday off. That was either a travel day, laundry day, rest day, go sightsee day, whatever it was Monday was my day. And I did that for quite a long time. I don't know that there was ever, sometimes I would do some Monday pro-ams, but that was my day. Nowadays, I know that those girls are practicing and playing on Monday. They're going to wear themselves out. They really are. I don't know how that's pretty fast paced, what they're doing now. I couldn't do that.
I agree.
So,
I
just, Tuesdays were kind of like maybe I'd play 9 holes, and if I knew the golf course and I had been there for years and years, maybe I wouldn't even play Monday or Tuesday. I'd just take my pro-am day on Wednesday and use that as my practice round and then go play. Because I could practice.
What's funny? My husband would do the same thing. So, again, me being the competitive control freak warrior, right? I'm like, oh, my God, I got to go play. And I would wear myself out. And needless to say, I lost my card because of it. And then I get married to a PGA Tour player who was out there for 15 years. Is like, nah, we don't need to play today. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? You got to go play. You got. And now he's like, he could care less about playing. But again, you just realize what you need to do for you. So I admire you both for that, because I was like, oh, I got to play.
Yeah, well, you play yourself right into playing bad, or you just, like I said, it's just too fast of a pace, and then you wear out. You get tired, you get, out there when you're playing every single day, it doesn't take much for you to start to do something in your golf swing that you don't even know you're doing. And before you know it, in the middle of the round, and then now you're starting to hit it bad, and you don't even realize you've done that. Because if you're not fresh, towards the middle of the end of the round, you start making mental errors, and those mental errors then turn into bad swings, and those bad swings turn into bad rounds. And before you know it, and that just comes from maybe I shouldn't have played yesterday. Maybe I should have taken the day off, or maybe I should have only played 9 holes instead of 18, or so whatever it is. I mean, those are all contributing factors, and I just tried to make sure. I just always tried to make sure that I was ready to go when the tournament was, when we were ready to play on Thursday.
Good girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I think that when it comes to everybody's style, if you will, of play, and I don't mean their actual physical style, but and how they handle themselves. Fatima, who was our guest before you, Danielle, said something very similar to what you did. Is when she hit about that 4 tournament mark, because the Symetra Tour, of course, is what she's playing right now. Last year they had, I think, 7 events in a row, and she said by the time she got to the 7th event, I mean, she was just wiped. And so much like you, she realized that when she started hitting about that 4 mark, or maybe even 5, that was enough for her. She needed to take a break, whether it be a week or what have you, and then she'd come back out. And kind of to what Cindy said, a lot of these young kids that come out on tour, especially their first season, they don't know what to expect. Especially something on the Symetra Tour where they're not making a lot of money yet. It's not like the LPGA where the purses are as big. And so they think, I've got to play every tournament because I want to get my card and I want to get this. And lo and behold, by the time they get into about 12 tournaments, they've lost steam. Right? And so when you were out on tour...
Well, yeah, it's more about quality than quantity, right? I mean, if you go...
Right.
If you're out there even on the Symetra Tour, right? So if you're just playing and you're just playing mediocre, it's going to take you quite a few tournaments playing mediocre just to make enough money just to get your card. So why not be fresh, playing a few really good events, and you don't have to worry about it as much, right? You can take some time off and you can do that. But just wearing yourself out playing mediocre golf out there is just not the way to go.
Yeah, and they're, like you pointed out, I mean, they don't have most of them anyways, don't have the resources to be flying here and there. So they're driving 10, 11, 12 hours between events and then showing up and playing practice rounds and everything else. And by the time the tournament rolls around, half their week is already gone. They're exhausted. They get out there, and now they've got to, gin themselves up to be competitive. So it's not always, it's not always easy for them.
Well, it's funny, when I was out on tour, I'm sorry. When I was out on tour, and I don't know if Cindy did this or not, but when I was getting ready to qualify for the tour, we didn't really have the Symetra Tour. We didn't have a brush like that to play before, where you could actually earn your card and then be out there. It was just tour school. So to be honest with you, like even now, if I looked at myself as somebody who wants to get out on the LPGA Tour and I had a choice of tour school and the Symetra Tour, or maybe even both, I might play a few Symetra Tours just to kind of keep myself, in competition and doing all of that. But to wear myself out to try and get my card that way, I would just go straight to tour school. That's the way I would approach it. I think you have a better chance as a good player to go through tour school and get your card than to try and do it and, like you said, drive 10, 12 hours to events, tired, playing week after week, making very little money. I wouldn't do that. I would look at that and say, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm going to play here and here and here. I'm going to pick a few. I'm going to keep myself competitive until tour school comes around, and then I'm just going to go. And that's the way I would do it. I'm sure a lot of girls probably look at me and go, yeah, you're crazy.
Well, I think like you said, I think for the stronger players, I think that is a smarter and that have maybe had some, tournament experience, that they know what to expect and can go out there and really grind it out during tour school. I agree with that. For some of the other players that maybe don't have a lot of tournament experience, I agree with you. I think that getting out there and playing a few Symetra events just to kind of get the feel and the atmosphere of what goes on, but not put so many of them together that they burn themselves out, as you suggest. I think is a better route to go on. And now too, and I'm not saying on the Symetra, but on the LPGA and even on the PGA Tour, of course, they've got all of these different, almost like an entourage surrounding them now. They've got swing coaches, they've got mental gurus, they've got fitness gurus, they've got everybody you can think of surrounding these players, helping them. I would imagine that, obviously a little earlier in the tour, you didn't have a lot of that, so you relied solely on your own efforts and your own abilities, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, there was none of that. Gosh, I think Cindy and I would laugh at some of the things that I think they're doing now. I think it's too much. But, I think Annika brought – I
would go out drinking with the caddies after.
Yeah, well, we did. We had parties, and we would drink and have parties, and we would, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I'll meet you down at the pub down at the end of the street or whatever. But it's when Annika came out on the scene, she kind of changed the way people viewed what they were doing, how they were doing it, and stuff like that. And she brought a different level of mentality and competition to the tour. And in order to compete with her, or at least stay close, these girls, they felt like, well, maybe I should not be doing this and I should be doing more of this. And so the tour kind of veered towards that. And I think at that point, I don't know, maybe Cindy can agree or disagree. Would you say that was kind of like where that's where I saw the shift? And that's where I saw
and the TPI, my TPI, the Titleist Performance Institute of, we should work out. Really?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. They brought all of that, and that's when everybody was like, well, maybe I should get in that traveling gym that goes around with us. We would, little by little, I think, and then before you know it, now it's, Bob Rotella and then everybody else now that's helping with the mental side of the game. And, Bob even helped me a little bit. I had some issues in the middle of my career there where, you have ebbs and flows and you have down times in your career. And he helped me a lot during the first one that I had. During the second one, it was a little tougher because I was towards the end of my career. But, he helped me a lot, get me back on track. And so, I see the benefit of that kind of stuff. Having one travel around with me, I don't think I would want that. But, it's just whatever's right for the for you and, and how you can play your best golf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a different environment now from what it was, even 10 years ago on tour. Lots changed. Obviously, on the men's side, when Tiger came out, he stepped everybody's game up considerably with his fitness routine. And when he was, a young, scrawny kid when he first came out in '97, and then a few years later, he was, he thought he was competing for Mr. Universe. But it worked for him, and it elevated a lot of the younger players coming up, and even some of the older players had to, really step up their game and get out there and get fit. So in some ways, I think it's been a good thing, but in other ways, I think sometimes, I agree with you, Danielle, it can be a little bit too much. We've only literally got just a very brief bit of time left, but I want to give you an opportunity because I know cooking is something that you love to do, and that's something that you inherited from your father. So maybe share a quick story with us.
Yeah, just growing up in the restaurant business, my dad's a chef. And I learned a lot from him, and I love to cook, as a result of that. And, he continues to teach me. Him and I are redoing an Italian cookbook that my grandfather started, or didn't start but had, and we're redoing it. My father and I am going to throw some fun, golf pictures in there and some stories, and I like it. I just recently lost a lot of weight, me and my husband. We started this year. We didn't want to keep going down the path that we were going down, so he lost about 20 and I've lost about 16 pounds. So we're working out. We feel good, and I want to continue the eating healthy and cooking all my foods and stuff like that. So it's been a part of my life for a really long time. So it's not something new. I just have to learn how to cook. I can't cook those heavy foods that we used to eat when I was younger, the Alfredo sauces and things like that, with the heavy creams and things like that. I have to kind of come up with, I either eat it and not very often, or I just come up with different ways to make it. But personally, I would just rather leave the recipe the way it is because it's fabulous and just eat it every once in a while. But it is, it's just something that's been a part of my life, and I just love it, and I want to continue with it.
Yeah, and that's all the good stuff, Danielle. Unfortunately, I agree with you. That's the good stuff. So at least leave a few of them. Leave a few of them as is. Don't change them all. Change a few of them. We got to be health conscious. I agree, but leave a few of them.
Well,
Danielle,
them. Yeah, I'm actually not going to change the recipes. I'm not going to put all those recipes in there, but I will put a bunch of them in there, and I won't change them.
Perfect. Well, Danielle, we want to thank you. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf. We really appreciate it. And much continued success. And hopefully next season, the Legends Tour will be up and running again, and you'll be back out there competing. But thank you for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having
Danielle.
me. I'm sorry I was late. Yeah, thanks, Cindy. You guys take care, and we'll be talking to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, Danielle.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, that was our very special guest, Danielle Ammaccapane, joining us here on the Women of Golf show, and we ran a few seconds over, so we're gonna split. On behalf of Cindy Miller, I'm Ted Odorico. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us here on the Women of Golf, and we'll see you next week with a great show. And Cindy, you're off next week, right?
I'm off. I'm playing 100 holes.
Okay.
For Children's
All
Hospital.
Right. So, perfect. All right. So you'll see me next week then. God bless everybody. Have a great week, and thanks again for joining us on the Women of Golf. Thanks for listening this morning to the Women of Golf show. Tune in live each week by visiting blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. If you can't join us live, check out our on-demand section for previously aired broadcasts. To get updates for future shows and upcoming guests, you can follow us on Facebook at Women of Golf. You can also follow me on Twitter at TedandBuckCEO and Cindy at Cindy Miller Golf. Please remember to join us next week on the Women of Golf show. See you next time. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.